we're going to talk about West Side Story. And this is weird because I've got like four articles pulled up on this, and I thought this whole breakdown is kind of interesting because there's a bunch of different ways you could perceive this. So West Side Story came out today. It's an adaptation from Steven Spielberg. It's a 2021 remake of I think the original came out in 1961, but I'm not 100. I think it says it right here. Yes, the original came out in 1961.
Okay.
This is obviously a movie that is very, very, very famous. The story is very, very famous, right?
Isn't it about like two people from different sides of
Isn't it Romeo and Juliet?
Essentially.
But, yeah, it's kind of ripping off Romeo and Juliet.
Or tweaking.
Yeah. So, yeah, but the original is considered a cinema classic, right? So it says this story is from Screen Rant, and it talks about how this movie is really, really good and that you should never underestimate Steven Spielberg. And then I also have the Rotten Tomatoes here talking about the score and the audience, which I think is really, really interesting, meaning that it is both extremely high on the audience score and extremely high on the tomato meter. Now, in Hollywood, this is a very rare thing to happen these days, right? Critics tend to be very critical of anything fans like and vice versa. It's a very contentious relationship. Fans tend to really hate critics' opinions because they think that's elitist and very, very...
paid for?
Yeah.
Yes.
They call it shill media for a reason, right? So my question is, how does this movie, with an extremely high audience score, an extremely high critic score, only make $10 million on its opening weekend? That is
because
insane.
Nobody cares about musicals. When did people learn that?
It's also the only movie, or the most well-known movie that came out this weekend.
Yep. So it should have, theoretically, it should have made way more just by having all the other movies were not new. So it had less competition. So if you look at the box office numbers here, West Side Story made $10,500,000. And it was only in 2,820 screens, which tells me that they weren't very confident in this movie to begin with, or it would have opened to way more locations. And it only beat out Encanto by less than a little over $1 million.
Oh, we also need to watch that movie.
$500,000?
Yeah. Oh, is it 9,400,000 to 10,500,000? A little over $1 million.
$1 million.
Yeah. So, and Encanto wasn't in week 1. Encanto was in week 3. So it's $10 million, and that's not the most impressive part about all this and how messed up this is. If you look down here, this movie had a $100 million budget. $100 million, that's that's the budget for just production, right? So if you add marketing, that's $150 million.
For people who are not mathematically smart, can you do that in Taco Bell meals? How much that costs?
That is a lot of Taco Bell meals, no matter what way I don't care if we're talking pre-inflation, post-inflation. I don't care what administration. That's a lot of Taco Bell meals to not many Taco Bell meals for their income again.
That's a flop, right?
It's a big flop.
That's a mega flop. There's an argument to be made that a lot of times when these movies come out this time of year, they're called Oscar bait, meaning that they're not submitting. This movie isn't coming out even to be seen by audiences.
Do you think that's why La La Land won?
A lot of those. I mean, what was the other one? A Star Is Born with Lady Gaga that came out the same time of year. So that's not new, right? That's pretty commonplace. But this movie has all sorts of I just can't imagine how after, what was it, Cats in 2019?
Oh God.
They talk about that in this.
Are you excited to see the director's cut where they have the buttholes?
I don't want to see. Yeah. Why don't you tell the audience what you're talking about so you don't just drop that in there?
So, who was the director of that movie?
I don't know who the hell directed Cats.
Okay. Let me search it up before we continue. Cats director. 2019. Okay, Tom Hooper
Hooper?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom Hooper. So his original plan for Cats was, because they CGI'd it all out, but he wanted to add buttholes to all of them.
Because Hollywood.
Yeah. But then Hollywood was like, nah, that will freak out a lot of people. So let's erase it.
Maybe it's because buttholes are a very important part of a cat.
Maybe that's what they were thinking. So, so my first question is, like, if you're a box office executive and you're trying to decide, let's stick with the Screen Rant article because this is very pro the movie, and I want to be as unbiased as possible. So it says, based on William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, West Side Story is set in 1950s New York City, centers around the love story between teenagers Tony, played by Ansel Elgort, and Maria, played by Rachel Ziegler, who have an affiliation with one of two rival gangs, the Jets and the Sharks. Starting life as a Broadway musical in 1957, it was adapted to film 4 years later. 1961's original West Side Story was one of the highest-earning movies that year and swept the Oscars with 10 wins, including Best Picture, Best Director for Robert Wise and Jerome Robbins. The movie is highly considered one of the greatest musicals of all time and has been loved by audiences for generations. Therefore, it was announced that Steven Spielberg's plans to remake the film. Many thought there was little point in revisiting the material. I kind of agree, especially since you know that you're not going to be able to escape modern day sensibilities, meaning they're not going to remain 100% faithful to the material. They're going to add their own spin on it that's going to be painfully modern and annoying.
You know, it seems like Spielberg was just looking for an easy win.
Well, they said in here that he's really always wanted to direct a musical and he's never gotten the opportunity.
But why did he choose this one?
I mean, that might have been just the next one in the list of ones that could be worked on.
What if
because Cats was already taken?
Well, you know the rights of.
I love the idea that he's like that Spielberg's pissed. He's like, I wanted to do Cats.
Well, okay, that is funny, but you know, also The Great Gatsby, basically the copyrights is basically open to the public now, so he can make that into a musical if he wanted to.
I'm guessing that there's 1,000% more like to do with rights issues because like maybe some characters because public domain isn't the same thing as copyright free.
I know, but like he can make his own version of The Great Gatsby,
and the studio has to approve it, so he has to get approval from the studio for funding. So they're going to choose which one is topical and which one can be covered next.
Hollywood.
Yep, Hollywood is awful.
But also, I know we wanted to talk about it. So this movie has a lot of Spanish in it.
Yes.
And he didn't want to add subtitles for non-Spanish speakers. And there was one person in the comments for Bounding Into Comments that commented an hour ago, said, I guess he doesn't care about the deaf community needing subtitles.
Yep. I didn't even think about that part of it. But basically, yeah. So there's a tale of two different excuses here as to why this movie bombed. And I honestly don't think either of them are 100% right.
Yeah.
So the one that I would be more inclined to believe, if I'm or not believe, but the one that falls more into my sensibilities as to what annoys me about Hollywood these days, not necessarily what I believe, is this one from Bounding Into Comics, and it says, Steven Spielberg explains that he didn't use English subtitles in West Side Story because it, quote, would give English power over the Spanish. If you're if you're listening to the audio version of this is the sound of me rolling my eyes into the top of my head so badly that it hurts. It's very frustrating, right?
You can see the veins at the back of his eyes.
It's just so 2021 that it's almost painful. Like, I don't even know if he believes this, but it says right here, it says, oh, what were you saying?
I'm just going to say, like, wouldn't it be smarter to add English subtitles because it encourages people to actually want to learn a new language? Because that's how people learn new languages. Like, a fun fact about learning new languages, if you want to learn a foreign language, watch the foreign language movies. For example, Spanish movies, watch it in English subtitles. And if you're curious about certain words, you can search it up. Or you can flip it, watch them in English, but have them in Spanish subtitles so you can search up the words, have the correct spelling. That's how you learn languages quicker.
Another thing, though, is people don't often think about his box office initial sales. Like, it has nothing to do with how good the movie is. The movie could be absolutely terrible. It's the marketing.
That's
Bottom
true.
line.
I didn't even know this movie came out until Chris mentioned it. He was like, do you want to watch it?
In my general point from this is like there's two articles here that tell you two reasons as to why it didn't do bad. So there's this one from Bounding Into Comics, which says that they didn't want to put subtitles in it because they thought it would give the English power of the Spanish. I've been forcing you to watch Hawkeye. There's a deaf character in Hawkeye, and they use a good amount of American Sign Language. They have to put subtitles there so you know what's being said.
Oh, do you want to know something cute? So my boyfriend Charlie knows sign language, and I learned sign language just for Chris is giving me like the side eye.
That's every episode so far.
Still waiting.
Still waiting for an episode where she does not mention her boyfriend. It might happen someday. Probably not though.
But yeah, I learned new phrases from sign language because I was so interested.
See, there you go. So you're interested in it. So, but this, if you were watching a movie and you didn't know what was being said, it'd be hard to be interested in it because you have no clue what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? And one of the comments that was actually made in this article says, nothing says inclusivity quite like a language barrier. Which, which is exactly what they're doing is virtue signaling, plain and simple. But I don't necessarily think that that's the reason the movie failed. There's another article here from TMZ, which says their theory is, the theory that TMZ posits is West Side Story, Spielberg's take flops. Fans blame Ansel Elgort casting. So
look at his face. He just looks like he's got that 1,000-yard stare.
He does look kind of nuts there.
The face just like. Durr.
What movie did he play in? He looks familiar.
He's been in a lot of stuff, but I'm not 100% sure which one you're talking about. But the point is here, Steven Spielberg's rendition of West Side Story might be a hit with the critics, as usual, but it tanked at the box office, something many people are taking joy in, all because of Ansel Elgort. The numbers are in for this film, and it doesn't look like people were flocking to catch it on the big screen.
Oh, he was Baby Driver.
Yes. Okay. Well, that movie had its own problems as far as stars of the movie. Cough, cough, Kevin Spacey, cough, cough. But that movie was a hit. So it says, with the movie only raking in around 4.1 million on opening day on Friday and projected to open to about 10 to 11 million for the weekend. That's quite bad. There's a lot of theories as to why WSS, or West Side Story, didn't do well, but one of them circulating online is without much evidence to support it, we should note, is Ansel himself may have kept folks at arm's length due in part to allegations of sexual misconduct against him. Like we said, there isn't a whole lot of proof of this. Most are blaming the pandemic and a sluggish holiday trend, but even if there's no credence to the Ansel thing, there sure is a lot of giddiness.
You know what? I'd just rather watch Grease.
There you go. So it says, long story short, the guy was accused of sexually assaulting a woman who told her story on Twitter and then deleted it, who claims when she was 17 when she had sex with him in 2014. She alleges she felt violated afterwards and went on to say that she suffers from PTSD. Ansel denies her characterization in a since deleted message, insisting it was consensual. There is just a mountain of current day climate in this that is not really relevant to what we're talking about. I don't know who I would believe in that situation. It's not relevant to this story. But the point is, we have two sides of the aisle here who are both taking glee in the fact that this movie didn't do well. People who might be more in line with you or me, who see it as insulting that Steven Spielberg thinks that not having subtitles somehow makes him a good person for not including subtitles in his movie and making it harder for people to understand. I think that's ridiculous. The other side is saying that this guy is a predator, and that's why the movie didn't do well. I don't think either of them are true. I think people are just like, who the hell cares about West Side Story? It's 2021.
That's true. Because nobody really cares about the gang life anymore, even though it kind of is increasing in certain states. But nobody cares about the gang life. Nobody cares about Romeo and Juliet stories anymore. Because literally you can marry anybody now. You can marry a building.
You can?
Yeah.
I think we're going to fact check Miracle on that. I don't think you can actually marry a building.
Maybe in the metaverse.
in the metaverse,
we'll be back for that article tomorrow when somebody gets married to a building after we marry Miracle off to some fan when we hit 5,000 subscribers.
But yeah. Well, no,
I think it's a music. I don't think it has anything. I think Romeo and Juliet is timeless. I think the fact is that it's 2021. It is still technically a pandemic. We are in financially hard times for a lot of people, and they're not going to go see a musical. They're going to wait and go see Spider-Man No Way Home, or they're going to wait and go see The Matrix 4. They're not going to flock out in droves to go see West Side Story.
Yeah, for sure.
It's totally different demographics for this and Spider-Man. But wouldn't it be funny if people didn't go see this because they were saving
their money?
Yeah.
I was gonna go see West Side Story, and then I remembered that Spider-Man comes out the next weekend.
And I don't want to go to 2 movies in the same month.
Yeah. But
I love musicals, but not this month.
But I'm just saying, if you want to watch a good musical, just watch Grease.
Or Mamma Mia.
No, fuck that movie.
You're not supposed
the soundtrack's nice.
The soundtrack is. I just remember that was mentioned here. They mentioned that Mamma Mia's sequel did pretty well in 2017, and I remember Mamma Mia at one point was like the highest-grossing movie of all time, or something.
It's like an all ABBA hits soundtrack. So
our friend Andreas would love that.
Ugh.
I love ABBA.
Swedish, right?
Yeah.
Swedish.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love ABBA?
But
is it ABBA or ABBA?
ABBA.
Okay.
It's pronounced ABBA.
I say it however I want.
I was just like, ABBA sounds wrong.
Yeah.
ABBA sounds right.
So
wait, imagine somebody naming their kid ABBA.
You could go by ABBA.
Yeah.
You look like an ABBA to me.
What the fuck?
You look very ABBA to me.
Sorry, that was like 2 F-bombs.
Yeah. You're in Facebook, Instagram, social media jail.
I know.
Now, so.
Oh my god, this is like Nosedive in Black Mirror, where like she cusses for the first time and her score goes low.
We should get like a swear jar in here.
Oh, we're gonna do the Ned Flanders thing where like
we should have a swear jar in this room, so that way if you're gonna swear, you gotta.
But you cuss more than me in this past episode.
We'll do an F-bomb jar then,
okay.
Only for the F word, because I think is that the one? I don't. Chris, you know more about like YouTube rules. It's like F-bomb really bad. You're not supposed to say the F word.
You just say it with an accent, and you'll probably be fine.
Okay.
Okay, so so you say it in the French accent. I'll say it in the Vietnamese accent.
I like how you assumed it was French. Like, I think it was, but I didn't know that. So that was very. You got good ears there, kid.
Yeah, this is why I can't like speak languages, but I can differentiate like different accents because like I was supposed to go to Peru with my boyfriend.
With who?
With
who? Your boyfriend.
My boyfriend. I was supposed to go.
She's getting that one in just in case she forgets next episode.
Yeah, because this is another segment.
Yeah, so I was supposed to go to Peru, and his grandmother doesn't speak English. She only speaks full-on Spanish. I only understand some Spanish, but reading Spanish, I'm surprisingly smart in it.
Because it's basically Latin and mostly English.
Yeah, and he's like, well, you need to brush up on your Spanish. And I was like, okay, no say.
Would they be fans of the phrase Latinx?
I don't think she's familiar with it, but he hates it.
I've never met a single person that actually either knew. Most people don't know what it is because that's what they talk about in that article. Was like about the term Latinx, and most people don't know what it is, and everybody else finds it offensive.
Andy and I were talking about it, and he was like, "Dude, their argument for Latinx is so stupid because if you actually think about it, the Spanish." They don't even pronounce the X. It's a silent sound. Yep. So like Mexico, it's pronounced Mexico. And
it's a gendered language in general. Like it seems like offensive to me that you would want to to make it a thing.
So how would you pronounce it if it was Latinx but pronounce it as a H?
The joke is always Latinx. People make because it sounds so ridiculous.
Wait, Chris, can you pronounce it if it was a H noise?
If what was?
The X. So instead of Latinx,
it would sound like Latina.
Right?
That's dumb. Yeah.
But in Spanish, like it's funny because even bathrooms have a gender.
Yeah, like
in the language.
Exactly. So like the word backpack in Spanish is mochila, but if you say "Donde estás la mochila," which means it's like a female word.
Well, in Hollywood, that's not a thing anymore. Now it's just Latinx. So if you're gonna go see West Side Story, you have to go see it and be Latinx.
Well, only English speakers have like gender neutral languages, while the rest of the world they all have gendered languages.
I heard something refer to Latinx as American linguistic colonialism.
Exactly.
They're literally it's hilarious.
Is because like Spanish, Russian, and I believe there's another language, like there's Asian languages too. They all have gendered pronouns. Yep. And like gendered words. Well, so you can't change their whole language.
Unless you're in America. You can just change things for everybody else.
Unless you're an elite capitalist, then you can just destroy the Spanish language.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.